Welcome to the first Monday edition of the Social Spreader. Before we get into what I like to call the opening lines, we're going to do some opening lines. Um, One of the things that I want to make sure is clear is I've gotten a couple of responses and emails over the weekend. One thing that this show will never be, and I mean never ever be, is
How much check? You know how much check was? He would play night after night. Load management.
that's never going to be this. They're talking sports, going at it as hard as they can. I'm never going to do that. If you are a sports fan who needs people to yell at you, who needs people to have some sort of misguided passion for what it is that they're saying or what it is that they're seeing, and have to yell their their moot points at you, you've come to the wrong place. This is a show that's going to be designed about trying to pick winners, and that's really it. My heart is to say my heart isn't in this is a bit of an understatement because it's in it in a certain way. Um, as we saw last night, the greatest quarterback of all time. You see people in the. I saw someone in the stands at Foxborough with a portrayal um, of a Jesus figure, and it was Tom. And look, find something to believe in. We'll cover the religiousness on another episode. And as much as I would love to start this morning on a lot of things, um, most more one of the things that I am just in awe that is not receiving any kind of news coverage or any kind of social commentary. The tar sands pipeline that is currently being negotiated in northern Minnesota that could threaten about 42% of the fresh water of the U.S. But capitalism needs their oil, the same capitalism that I believe withdrew from the Paris Agreement to try to help Earth, because some orange dude said that it would put the U.S. economy at a significant disadvantage, which in other words is if we can't pollute with how this current form of capitalism is, then we can't really do anything. Whole other discussion for a whole other day. I am wearing another homage shirt. I'm not sponsored with them. Would like to be. Their shirts are so cool. They go old school, and this one is just one of my favorites. If you grew up, again, going after a youthful audience here, if you grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Supersonics were very much an iconic team, and kind of to you know kind of to use the current platform here this morning. But Howard Schultz, who had I believe his net worth was 4 billion or something like that, couldn't find the money to get a new arena. Think about that too next time. When whenever if you are a fan of a certain geographic area or a certain town or a certain team because that's where you're from or yada yada yada, and the owners of or the ownership group or the owner of your team wants to move the team because they don't want to pay for a new arena or a new field. They want public funding to do it, which is meaning increasing the taxes that you pay. Just go ahead and do a quick search about what their net worth is. And it might actually change your tune about about your allegiance to that team, where if they are willing to relocate simply because the public funding isn't there, when they have private funding and they can probably make up whatever kind of a deficit that they incur with a new field or a new arena within 5 years with concession, ticket, merchandise sales. So just remember that the next time your ownership group or your owner threatens you to leave your town, also remember that the next time an athlete wants to leave, because one of the things that I found kind of jarring was on social media, the vitriol and a lot of the hatred that was directed towards Tom while he was returning to the place that put them on the map. They were pretty much a doormat type of a franchise before he was there. And what he has accomplished in his career, 2 Hall of Fame careers, um, is nothing short of astounding. But to see some people and their reaction to him coming back, um, it just if you are an attorney, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you are in sales, if you are anything, you can choose wherever you want to live. You can go wherever you want to go and work wherever you want to work. Athletes can't. It's the only industry where your location is determined by factors outside of your own. And yet, sports fans get all up in arms when their players want to leave because the franchise has been run by morons. Green Bay Packers. And they don't even want to have the input or any kind of an opinion coming from their top players. Makes zero sense. Yes, I am very much pro player, very very much. Anyway, we're gonna go over that on a whole other day. But this first Monday episode that I want to do is I want to take a look at the opening lines. Now, what's important with the opening lines is whenever they are set, you either see an automatic adjustment or you don't. For instance, I'm looking at the NFL right now, and so before the results of yesterday, the Atlanta Falcons were a 5-point favorite playing in London this upcoming Sunday versus the Jets. Now they're 3.5 or 4 wherever you see it, and I mean, overreaction Monday is something that a lot of sports commentary shows, a lot of things like that, kind of wrap their arms around. Once again, um, that will not happen here. I will never talk sports going at it as hard as I can. Um, you know, I will not ever. I'm not that kind of person, and I kind of find those people kind of hilarious. Anyway, and so one of the other things that you really want to try to see is whenever there's a spread that's close to either a pick 'em or one or two, if those tend to flip, what does that mean? For instance, the Denver Broncos are going to Pittsburgh early game. And if you look throughout history, the Broncos do not go east well. And they certainly don't play in the earlier slot that well at all. So the line opened Pittsburgh +2. Now it's Pittsburgh -1. That's a 3-point swing. Um, you can take whatever you think of that. You can take that for whatever it's worth. To me, those are the games that usually give me a red flag saying, "Hey, stay away." Just because, look, as I said before, if I'm looking at a spread and nothing makes sense, that means someone knows something that I don't. And I'm humble enough to say that I don't know everything, which is something I think sports fans should really become more accustomed to. It'll help you pick winners. And one of the one of the interesting things is if you're looking at these two teams and your head kind of starts to go sideways when you're looking at the spread or you're looking at the over under, I think that should be a sign that maybe you hard pass. There's, as I said before, sometimes not having action is a win because if you want action just to have action, but you don't have any direction for your action, what are you really trying to accomplish here? Are you just trying to put money on something so you can say that you have action on it, or are you actually trying to pick a winner? And I know that might sound very elementary with its verbiage. However, it might make a lot of sense because, I mean, Pittsburgh, kind of a train wreck this year. I thought it was hilarious that when Ben Roethlisberger tried to run 3 yards to his right. He fell for no apparent reason. Um, but so far in the last 12 hours, there have been there have been two games that have significantly moved. Okay, Tennessee Titans at the Jags. That opened as an 8 point as an so the Titans open as an 8 point favorite on the road. It's now down to 4. Um, Jacksonville has had a couple extra weekdays to prepare. And as much as I would love to go over the video of scumbag Urban Meyer doing his typical scumbag things, I got reminded of, I think it was either last year or at some point within the last 12 months. Um, he did some kind of a FaceTime or a Skype from, I think it was his yacht or some kind of a water vessel. I don't know. And was that guy naked in the background? I don't know. There's a nude guy who's not a nude guy on his boat. Either way, not only is he a scumbag, but obviously now apparently he cheats on his wife. So that's fantastic. Good for you, Urban. However, that 3 point swing is pretty significant, especially when a home team is going to be getting 8 points to start off with. To have an immediate correction from the sharps of more than 3 points is huge. Same thing, Chicago at Las Vegas. Las Vegas opened as a 7.5 point favorite. Now they're 4.5. I personally don't understand how a team winning at home against the Lions would motivate someone to have enough confidence to take away a field goal. That seems a little bit too overreaction Monday for me. The other one though that's really interesting to me is well, there's two really. Cleveland going to the Chargers. Chargers opened as a 2 point favorite. Now they're a 1 point underdog. Also, San Francisco at Arizona. And I'm sure every expert had the Arizona Cardinals as a 4-0 team after 4 games and 3-1 against the spread. San Francisco's won 2 out of the last 3. And so it's a little bit peculiar to me when I see that Arizona goes from a 2 point favorite to a 5 point favorite. And I think any true wagerer on sports would agree, man, 5 points just stinks like poo. It's such a weird number. It's a safety and a field goal. I mean, come on. And so you know, generally I try to stay away from those types of lines. I just when there's smoke, there's fire, and a 5 point, jumping from a 2 point favorite to a 5 point favorite, it seems like there's something on fire there, especially with what happened to San Francisco yesterday in what seemed like a very, I guess, ho hum kind of a really weird, slower type of a game to start off with, and then they ended up getting almost 50 points. They still hit the under. The over under was 52, but they still hit the under. And Arizona just beat the Rams for the first time in, I think, forever. So it's very interesting to me to see the opening lines, because if I'm looking at if I'm looking at a spread that didn't make sense before and then it gets adjusted, again, someone probably knows something that I don't. The other thing too that's been really interesting, and um, once again, I'm not trying to well, going after the youthful group with a reference to 2007. In my lifetime, there was no crazier college football season than 2007. Just to put it into perspective for people, at one point, the Kansas Jayhawks were the number 2 ranked team in the country. The Missouri Tigers were the number 2 rated team in the country. And the University of South Florida was the number 2 ranked team in the country. Why am I telling you this? Because 9 top 25 teams lost on Saturday. 9. This has been one of the most helter skelter um, weirdest seasons so far. And if you've come out even or a couple units up, bravo, because it's been tough. Oregon, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Fresno, UCLA, Baylor, all of them lost. And how about that Hawaii Chaser or sleeper? I fell asleep before the game even started. And so it's always interesting and very frustrating when college football starts to look like March Madness, and that's kind of what has happened this year. And to continue on the theme of college football, there's a couple of spreads that were a little bit interesting in terms of their move from the start to what they were adjusted to. Alabama at Texas A&M. Look, without a quarterback, I don't know what A&M has. I know they have a very stout. They're very stout on the other half of the ball, but when you're playing a juggernaut like the Crimson Tide, does that really matter? A&M opened as a 15-point underdog at home. Now they're up to 18. It would not surprise me at all if that gets up to 21. And as the money continues to flow in on a team, that's when the sports books are going to make the adjustment, because you can look at a spread one of two ways. It's either one, a prognostication of what the ending is going to be, or two, it's a very arbitrary number that the sports that well, it's a very it's a it's a it's a it's a unique number to the matchup that the casinos have put on the game to try to get equal money on each side. The one thing that a casino does not want to do is be overexposed. And that's really all they're trying to accomplish with these. They're trying to get equal money on each side. So this is your call. Does it mean that one team is superior? Well, obviously. I mean, Alabama is superior to Texas A&M. But now let's take a look at Michigan against the Cornhuskers. All right. Look, a lot of people wrote off Nebraska when they lost to Illinois. I don't blame you. I think Nebraska, in countless ways, is living in the '90s. But this is a this is a matchup. The Michigan Wolverines are 5-0, 4-1 against the spread. The Cornhuskers are 3-3, 5-1 against the spread, which is just amazing, because that's just really interesting, because I don't see. I mean, they crush Northwestern, which was a savior for the weekend that I had. And they 3.5 point underdogs at Michigan State. They lose by 3. Four almost 3.5 touchdown underdogs against Oklahoma, almost win. And aside from Illinois, they've been pretty solid. They've lost to the teams that they should. Now, whether or not you think they should lose to Michigan, that's completely on you. The last 3 times that these two teams have played, the last time they played was 2018, and Michigan put 56 on them. Anytime someone drops a 50 burger on you, it gets a little rough. But you know, it's interesting to see, because it was Nebraska as a 7 point underdog at home. Now they're at 3, and the juice is completely skewed. Right now, depending upon where you shop and what you're currently looking at, you can get the Cornhuskers as a 3 point dog with even odds, and it's Michigan -3, and you're paying 80 cents on the dollar. So shop around or wait if that's a game you have interest in. Shop around or wait. The other game that's very unique to me too is Notre Dame at Virginia Tech. Before yesterday, VTech opened as a 6 point underdog at home. Now it's probably going to get bet down to maybe a pick 'em. It's Virginia Tech +1, and that's a huge adjustment, especially when you consider that Notre Dame lost to a good squad. And yeah, they kind of got their asses kicked. I mean, it wasn't really that close. The final score might give you some kind of indication otherwise, but it really wasn't that close if you were watching that game, which I was. I didn't have any action on it. The only games I watch are the ones I don't have action on. As I said before in my other episode, I'm not in. I have an 8-month-old son. Um, we just moved to north of Denver. I've got so many things on my plate. I don't. I don't have. I don't have time. Nor do I have the. Nor do I want to freak out over a 5 yard false start or any kind of a holding. And the other thing too that I did want to say in regard to the Patriots game, um, that was a catch and a fumble that put Tampa right. I believe they, at least in the red zone. I believe they were going to be pretty close to first and goal. And the first half spread was New England at 4. A lot of money on that, and the overall spread was, I believe it closed at Tampa Bay -7. A lot of money on Tampa. I'm not going to sit here and spew any conspiracy theory, but he caught it. He took one step. He was making a second step in a football move, and then it got hit out. But New York said that it wasn't a catch. Anyway, um, there's a lot of good, interesting matchups here over the weekend. And lo and behold, guess who's still undefeated against the spread this year? I'm sure all of you had it. The Falcons from Bowling Green. They were 17-point underdogs at Kent State over the weekend, 27-20. They actually, I believe, they had a chance to win, or they had a chance to tie, and that's just unbelievable. I believe they might be the only team left in Division One that is undefeated against the spread. I believe so. And we all saw what happened between Alabama and Ole Miss. Look, regardless of where your allegiances are, and I've made it pretty clear where mine aren't, um, the fact that the minor leagues for the NFL is Alabama and I'd say 10 feet of shit and then everybody else because again, yes, did Florida almost beat them? Sure. They were also getting taken to the woodshed at halftime. I don't know if Alabama came out with the same zeal that they should have in the second half, made it closer than it perhaps should have been. Um, but when you look at a team that minimum is going to be a 3 touchdown favorite versus almost everybody, I'm going to assume when they play Georgia that they're going to be at least 10 points, maybe 14. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's really interesting, especially with the new changes of kids can make money off of their likeness and all that stuff. Where this has moved to, um, because I think in the last 18 months we kind of understood or we were shown that money is the only important thing, at least in a capitalistic society. And if all of the money is going to be on this juggernaut, what chance does anybody really have? And so, I find it fascinating how much of a microcosm sports gambling is to society, especially with an economic society. And it's just fun for me. This is something that I enjoy doing. One other huge move that was kind of interesting: the Smurf Turfers are going to BYU this weekend. It opened as a pick 'em, and now it's BYU -5, and that might even get up to 7. That's a huge adjustment. And those are two teams that are normally pretty close in terms of how they play each other. I know that the Smurf Turfers aren't exactly what they used to be. And lately, the last three, BYU's 2-1 straight up and 3-0 against the spread. So maybe that's why the Sharps came in that early to get it moved. So, just take a look at what's been happening with the opening lines and then the immediate adjustment afterwards. Whatever you want to take from that is completely yours. But if you're looking at it sideways and nothing really makes sense, um, I don't have any problem with saying someone knows something that I don't. Someone knows more than me about this matchup that I don't. Georgia Auburn. Auburn didn't look overly impressive against LSU. Georgia opened as a 17-point favorite. Now they're 14. And Georgia's been a juggernaut. In fact, if I'm gonna check real quick. If I have this correct, I'd like to think that I do. Um, yep, they are 4-1 against the spread. Auburn is 4-1 straight up, 3-2 against the spread. But boy, that's a lot of points. But it's not necessarily when you consider that the last three times that Georgia's played Auburn, Georgia's 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread, and the average score is 25-10. Blech. Boy, maybe hammer the under, but the under right now is 45. Jeez, 45. This is just some food for thought as the hamsters jump on the wheel throughout the week. Something to definitely keep in mind whenever you're looking at the spreads where they are now, where they've ended up. Never forget the Falcons from Bowling Green are still undefeated against the spread, and they are favorites this year. They're favorites this week, and they're favorites at home against Akron. And Akron's not doing very well this year, and they're 14-point underdogs. Okay, we'll see. I don't know if this might be the first time that Bowling Green has been a favorite this year, which is interesting. So, just wanted to give you guys some food for thought here as we continue. As we start this week, we'll continue to take a look at any other adjustments or where the public money is and where those are moving those lines. And as I said before, I don't have time to video edit. I don't have time to audio edit. This is a live show. I do apologize if I misspeak or if something isn't 100% correct. It's not like the internet for from what I've heard. The people on the internet don't usually like seek out mistakes and highlight them for people, right? Okay. Anyway, get those hamsters on those wheels. Think about all the games that are going to be coming up here this weekend. Thursday night game is super interesting and might actually have a lot of impactful. It might have a very large impact on playoff seeding with the Rams at Seattle. Seattle's a 1-point underdog. The other game too, man, Sunday night games are really coming through. Buffalo at Kansas City. Let's fucking go. Have a good week. Good luck with your bets.